Connor Shaw. Who?
Do you want that as your lock of the week?
Dylan Gabriel's not the guy. He's a 5'10", 5'11" left-handed quarterback. The odds are stacked against him. And welcome, bet heads, to another edition of Bet This, your betting home on the pulse of New Hampshire. I am half of Bet This, CJ Santulis. Welcome in. Thank you. It is me, King J. I'm dogless, no J-Dog. If you look at the wide shot here, he is on vacation still in San Francisco. So I'm doing it solo, flying the ship solo today. No worries. Thank you for joining me. If you haven't done it, make sure you go to thepulseofnh.com and go check out the Pulse Podcast Network. If you're listening to us, I'm assuming you're hearing us there, or go subscribe, like, follow on YouTube. Bet This Pod, Bet This with a exclamation point. Bet This. Go follow us everywhere you get your podcast content. Today we have a special edition of Bet This. We're going to be breaking down futures. That's right. While the Dogs are away, the bettors will play. And today we're discussing futures. I know J-Dog doesn't like discussing, football, past football season and things like that. So I figured I'd sneak in some football talk while J-Dog's gone. And while we're at it, we're going to discuss futures for the NBA while we're halfway through the season, just returning from the All-Star break, or just recently returning from the All-Star break. And the NHL season as well is just returning from the Winter Olympics. So I thought we're about halfway between two sports, and we just finished one and just about to start another. So let's do futures on all of them, right? We're going to talk football. We're going to talk baseball, talk basketball, and we'll talk hockey with a special guest later on at the end of the show. But let's kick it off with basketball. Actually, let's drop in or tip off, as they would say in basketball. And let's get right into it. We're going to go over some of the basketball awards. And because basketball is, they've had a lot of betting drama throughout this 2025, 2026 season. A lot of the odds aren't available unless some sports books may have odds depending on what you find. But most of the odds on basketball aren't available. So if you are looking for basketball odds or where the market kind of lies, you can check out Kalshi. That's what we're going to be using for basketball today, and anything I can get odds on, I will. But with Kalshi, we can see what the market looks like. And we're going to start off with our defensive player of the year. So starting off, DPOY is given out to top defensive player of the year. And really right now, it looks like there's only 4 options. Getting more than 1% on Kalshi. So it looks like fans are kind of leaning towards these 4 options: Scotty Barnes, Rudy Gobert, Chet Holmgren, and Victor Wembanyama. Now, little preface, I did go to Washington, D.C. over the Christmas vacation, Christmas 2025. And I was able to see the Spurs take on the Wizards live at the Capital One Center in D.C. And I think I'm going to have to go with Victor Wembanyama here as my defensive player of the year. He is leading Kalshi's projections at 75% of the market, leaning that way. So I think I'm going to go with Wemby. I feel like he's just a dominant force when it comes to blocks and stuff like that. The only other player in the league that even comes close is Chet Holmgren. Now, Chet is second in the Kalshi market predictions, but as of, let's see here, about a week ago, it looks like, or at the beginning of February, it looks like Chet was winning the race and then swapped with Wemby. Wemby starting to come back from that injury that he had earlier in the season. He took some time off. When I saw him in Washington, he came off the bench against the Spurs or against the Wizards. So Wemby starting to get back into full strength mode. I think that's why the odds flip there. So I'm going to go Wemby as my DPOY for the NBA. Moving on, we've got 6-man of the year, your 6-man winner of the year. Right now, Naz Reid leading the market at 53% on Kalshi. I am kind of a Peyton Pritchard fan here. Pritchard's getting 3% of the market. And I think that honestly, he's got some decent odds at winning that, but I know Naz Reid is helping the Timberwolves look a lot better. Ant does a lot of the work out there, the heavy lifting, but I know that Naz Reid is also stepping up big for the T-Wolves. So we're going to go with Nas, even though I'd throw a flyer on Peyton Pritchard just to win 6th man of the year. If you can, try and find that wherever. Let's move on to Rookie of the Year. Now, Rookie of the Year has become somewhat of a tighter race at the beginning of the season. Before the NBA season tipped off, I think I had alluded to VJ Edgecombe being my Rookie of the Year. Now that we're about halfway through the season, or a little over halfway, Rookie of the Year has kind of been narrowed down. It looks like the market is really between two players. It's going to be Con Knuppel and Cooper Flagg, two Duke players that really have been competitive against each other. Knuppel getting the edge between the two when they faced off the Hornets and the Mavs. And Knuppel's been impressive throughout the All-Star break, competing in the three-point contest, and just his performance on the court. I feel like he has a huge impact for the way that the Hornets perform. I know obviously they have LaMelo, and he's the main focus out in Charlotte, but I feel like Con Knuppel is becoming his own Lonzo or LaMelo Ball, stratosphere. Like, he's becoming another superstar in Charlotte. But I think Cooper Flagg does the same thing in Dallas. I think that he is such an important piece when it comes to the Mavs and the way that they perform. So I think that I'm going to go with Cooper Flagg here, although I think it is a tighter race than people may think. Looking at it, the market right now is 62% to 42%. Cooper Flagg leading that race, but I really think it's closer to a 50-50 shot. And as we look, since the beginning of February on Call Sheet, it's really been Knuppel closing the race, and Cooper Flagg dropped down from, at one point he was at 88% chance of winning Rookie of the Year to now, again, like I said, 62%. So it's trending in the direction of Knuppel, but I'm going to go with Cooper Flagg still. That does it for our Rookie of the Year. Now for our MVP winner, this one is also an interesting race because Nikola Jokic is second in market predictions at 22%. However, if he misses any more time, he might be unqualified to win MVP. If you get so many, if you have to play so many games a season to qualify for MVP. If you don't play that many games, you are ineligible for the award. And I know Jokic is getting close to missing enough time to not be qualified for that award. So right now, SGA Shea is leading the race. He's 54. He's holding the market at 54% on Kalshi. However, I like Cade Cunningham to be in the discussion. He's third on the list here at 16% of the market going to Cade Cunningham. And if Shea gets injured and misses too much time, and Jokic is ineligible, I think Cade would be the dominant force there. But I think the race has to go to Shea. He's the number one player in the NBA right now. I mean, Jokic obviously is a physical specimen. Him and Wemby are two unique people who, there's not another human out there that looks like them. So obviously they're talented enough in their own aspect when you look at their physical abilities. But despite physical abilities, if you just look at best basketball player overall, regardless of physical abilities, I think it's SGA. So we're going to choose Shea for our MVP awards. Now for the futures for conferences, Eastern Conference champion and Western Conference champion. This is going to be interesting. We just talked about Cade Cunningham and how successful he's been this season. In the East, it's really down to three teams. I think the Knicks have kind of fallen off from where they were last year. And the Celtics have kind of leaped them, in my opinion, with the way Jaylen Brown has led the team. No Jason Tatum, Peyton Pritchard, potential 6th man of the year, Derek White even stepping up and helping lead that team to some success. Boston has stepped up and they're controlling 25% of the market right now. However, the top two teams, I think, even though I'm a Celtics fan, I think that it's between the top two teams, Cleveland and Detroit. Cade Cunningham is really leading the Pistons, and they are the number one team in the East. However, the Cavs, they've, added James Harden before the deadline. Him and Spida look amazing. It's really tough. I don't want to be a homer and say the Celtics, but I just feel like Jaylen Brown should be in that MVP discussion. And because he's performing so well, I'm going to go, you know what? Screw it. I'm saying the Celtics win the East. I'm going with the homer pick. and we're going to choose the Celtics. If J-Dawg was here, he'd be throwing a fit, but he's not. So we're going to just go with my pick anyways. And we're going to take the Celtics out of the East for your Eastern Conference champions. And now out of the West, it really is down to two teams. I don't think the Nuggets are in there. However well they perform, Jokic is really the only reason why you would even consider them to win the West. But it's really between the Spurs and Oklahoma City. Wemby versus Chet, the battle that we're going to be able to see in the playoffs, hopefully. I think Wemby is strong enough to carry the Spurs by himself to the Western Conference Finals, but I don't think he's strong enough to beat Oklahoma City, the reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champions, Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they're going to win the West. So I think it's going to be a Thunder Celtics matchup here in the finals. And I think that we might see back-to-back Oklahoma City Thunder champions. I don't think I can pick anyone else. I mean, before the All-Star break, they just looked unstoppable. They had, SGA got injured right before the All-Star break, took some time off. And I think that was the perfect time for them to face some injuries, to go through some turmoil like they did. And I think that's, the thing that'll establish their dominance in the West, and what separates them from the other teams is how they're able to stay healthy. If they can continue that throughout the rest of the season, I think without question, they'll be the NBA champions at the end of the year. So let's transition, because that is it for basketball. And now we've got NFL and MLB to discuss. Like I said, we're going to end today's Bet This with some hockey talk. We've got a special guest coming up later for some hockey talk. But for your NFL, let's go to NFL. Your NFL awards and futures for your 2026-2027 season. Let's open up with, we can't do Rookie of the Year because we don't know who will win, who will even get drafted this year. There are options on Kalshi to see who the potential Heisman winner is. Arch is leading that race. Trinidad Shambliss is in second at Ole Miss. He got approved to return to Ole Miss next season. So Trinidad and Arch leading those races. But let's just talk NFL. We're going to talk pro football here and get right into it. The Defensive Player of the Year, the top candidates for Defensive Player of the Year, Myles Garrett leading the market. He is coming off of that NFL sack record. He broke the record this past season. Will Anderson is second at 16% of the market, and Micah Parsons at 15% there. I don't think Micah, I would eliminate him from the option. Not that I don't think he's a great NFL player, but coming off of an ACL injury or an Achilles injury, I can't remember what it was at the end of the season that he tore, but coming off of that leg injury, it's going to really, I think, hold him back a little. And usually when you look at injuries like this, it's the year after the year they come back. So if he's coming back this year, it's usually the year after is when you see them return to full strength. So I wouldn't put my money on Micah Parsons to really come back full strength this season. Will Anderson is a good option coming off of Defensive Rookie of the Year, not this past season, but the season before that, and helped lead the Texans to the playoffs. Obviously, CJ Stroud, the offensive mind there, leading the Houston offense. But Will Anderson, really that captain in the defense. And I think that he is a good number two, but Myles Garrett, as of right now, seems unmatched. If you think about what he's done on a Cleveland Browns team, and then another thing, a lot of the time when you see these Defensive Player of the Years, the winners, it's people who are on good defenses. Will Anderson, the Houston Texans defense, was one of the top 5 defenses this season. And even if you eliminated Will Anderson out of that mix, they would still be pretty much a top 5 defense. Micah Parsons was on Green Bay. They were incredible before he got hurt. Myles Garrett is on the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns have had a good defense over the past couple of years, but how much of that is Myles Garrett? I really think, he should be in discussion for MVP, just because when you think about the most valuable player to a team, I know the Browns aren't really a valuable team, but when you think about who makes the biggest impact on their team, Myles Garrett, hands down, makes the largest impact on that defense. If you eliminate him from that defense, they're losing every game without a doubt. Like, there's no shot they're even having a chance to win games. And The Browns ended up beating teams like the Packers this year, strictly because of the defense and obviously Joe Flacco at the time, able to carve up the Packers. But I think Myles Garrett, if I had to do a way too early prediction, he would be my defensive player of the year for the NFL. Now, transitioning to offensive, we're going to go offensive player of the year. The top 4 candidates on Calshi at the moment, Bijan Robinson, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jahmyr Gibbs, and Justin Jefferson leading the market. Jahmyr Gibbs actually holding 10% right now, with JSN and Bijan at 9% and then Jefferson at 4%. Obviously we just watched JSN have the offensive player of the year winner there, coming off of an amazing season, and the Seahawks coming off of a Super Bowl championship. However, it is so hard to repeat. If you look, the Chiefs, the Patriots, those are really the only 2 teams that have even been able to make it back to the Super Bowl in back-to-back seasons in the past, 20 years really? And so it's really hard to see teams be successful. Once you reach the top, you're on watch. Everyone's watching you, regardless if you are dominant on the offense, on the defense, whatever it is. Teams start watching and noticing what you're good at and what you're not good at, and start picking apart those successful teams because they want to be that team and they want to take down that team. So I don't think JSN, I would eliminate him automatically. Now, I don't think he's not going to be successful, or the Seahawks won't be successful. They obviously just won a Super Bowl. But I don't think that he will be able to dominate teams the way he did this season. He won't be able to just carve through teams like that. They won't let him go as unguarded. He'll be doubled more, just because he was as dominant as he was this past season. And another player that really stands out to me, we'll have to wait and see, obviously, what offseason moves are made and, what quarterback is at what team. Because if you look at some of these, like Bijan Robinson and Justin Jefferson, 2 great examples of who will be the quarterback for their team. Will Michael Penix be operating? Will he be healthy and back under center for the Falcons to start the season? And on that same hand, the Falcons have let Kirk Cousins know that they're going to essentially move on from him. And a lot of the market, a lot of the names in media industry think that Kirk Cousins is going to go back to Minnesota and try and team up with Justin Jefferson again. And I think if Kirk Cousins is at the helm for the Vikings, I think Jefferson's odds go up immensely, especially because I don't trust JJ McCarthy as much. But if it doesn't, if McCarthy's under center, I think Justin Jefferson becomes almost unusable or untrustworthy, just because you can't trust that Vikings offense. So I would either lean towards Jefferson or Bijan, really. I think also Jahmyr Gibbs, right now leading the market. I love Jahmyr Gibbs' play, the way his style and how he runs. I just think that the Lions are kind of missing their window. And sadly, I think the Eagles are in the same situation, my favorite team. But it's being so dominant for about 5 seasons, you can only hold on to that dominance for so long before you got to change things up. And I feel like the Lions are kind of on a downward trend after the 2 great seasons they've had over the past few years. They missed out on some controversial stuff a couple of years ago. But I just don't think the Lions are going to be as dominant offensively. And Jared Goff's style, I don't think is something that you can repeat year after year, where it's like he's, finding ways to have creative offense and get the ball out, dish it out to as many people as he does. I don't think that Jared Goff is going to be as successful year after year as he has been. Not that their offense per se won't be as successful, but I just don't think Gibbs is going to be the top offensive guy. I really think it's between Bijan and Justin Jefferson this year. And if I had to pick one, I'd probably say Bijan's the more likely, just because if Penix is there, you can trust him. Even if Penix isn't there, if someone else is under center, Bijan's still carrying the rock. He doesn't have to catch the ball as much, as opposed to Justin Jefferson really relies on his quarterback. So I'm going to choose Bijan as my offensive player of the year. And then for MVP, which has pretty much become a quarterback award, we saw it go to Matt Stafford last year. Drake May was second in the running. I thought Drake May should have gotten it. However, I don't think he'll be able to repeat that. I think that schedule strength is really going to impact the Patriots this year. So I'd eliminate him from the chat. He is 4th right now on the market for MVP odds on Kalshi. after that, Lamar Jackson is in at a 9% rate. Justin Herbert, 9%. Josh Allen at 11, leading the way. I don't think Allen wins it this year. I honestly wouldn't be surprised to see Lamar Jackson step up back to that MVP caliber that he played at before. He was hurt really this past season. He needs more offensive targets, though, to really help him break out, because Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, they keep dropping the ball. Zay Flowers. He needs more people with more trustworthy hands to really help him break out. The real story of the NFL season is going to be what Justin Herbert can do with Mike McDaniel as his new offensive coordinator. If those two can really link up and have an explosive offense, get the run game going, Omarion Hampton there, some great pass catchers, and Quentin Johnson, who had a great start to last season. They've got Lad McConkey. They've got Gadsden at tight end. So a lot of offensive weapons for Justin Herbert. They need the offensive line to stay healthy. And I don't see it. I don't think it can be as demolished as it was last year. I mean, so many injuries just hit that team, and they still, put a Band-Aid over it and kept it together as long as possible. I don't see that happening this year. So I'd probably pick Justin Herbert to be my surprise MVP winner. And he is tied with Lamar at 9%. That does it for our football awards. Now let's get back to let's go to our futures. How about AFC champion, NFC champion? Out of the NFC, again, I said the Lions and the Eagles, I think, are on their way out. Seattle leads the market at 19% currently. The Rams in second at 15% on Kalshi, with Stafford announcing he's coming back. And then Green Bay in third at 12%. I don't think Green Bay is really in the mix either. I'm going to go with the fifth option here, below the Lions on Kalshi. I'm going to go with Chicago, the Bears, to really have a breakout season. I got to say it now while Dawg is away, so he doesn't physically hurt me, because he is a Packers fan, of course. But I feel like the Bears are going to get somewhat of an easier schedule. The Lions have kind of swapped with the Bears in the NFC North. I think Chicago is going to take their spot. And with Green Bay's injuries to a lot of their big names, like their tight end, Tucker Kraft hurting his leg, getting a torn, I think, Achilles or torn ACL. I can't remember. And then Micah Parsons on the defensive side. Josh Jacobs had some injuries this year. Christian Watson's always banged up. And Jordan Love having a couple of, I believe, hand injuries this year. They had a lot of injuries. So you could probably say that the injury bug won't strike them again this year. But I just feel like even if it doesn't strike them, they're kind of all over the place. They lost Sean Mannion. He went to Philly, an offensive mind there. So I don't know. I don't really trust Green Bay. I think Chicago makes a leap to the next level. And if you think about offensive talent, I mean, the Bears have some of the best depth in the NFL. So I'm going to go with Chicago in the NFC. Out of the AFC, Buffalo's opening the odds at 15%, Kansas City at 13%. I'm going to tell you right now, Kansas City, I don't even know if they make the playoffs. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is ready, and I don't know who they're going to have backing him up, because Gardner Minshew was the backup, and he tore his ACL a week after Mahomes. Mahomes tore his ACL towards the end of the season there too, so he's most likely not playing this season. The Los Angeles Chargers, another AFC West team, is third in odds, and we were just talking about my MVP winner potentially being Justin Herbert. I wouldn't be surprised if the Chargers win the West this season. They would have to get through Denver as well. But again, Bo Nix, broken ankle at the end of the season, coming off another injury. I really think it's between the Chargers, maybe Baltimore, maybe Jacksonville in the mix. Jacksonville's got 9% on the Kalshi market right now. I'd probably go with the Chargers, though. I just feel like Justin Herbert's he's due. I feel like the Bills, they struggled last year, although they're leading the market right now for AFC champion. I feel like they had so many up and downs. And even though James Cook is a great runner, it's like, I feel like they've just got too much going on, too much noise, for them to really win an AFC championship. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I feel like Harbaugh's a great coach. They got Mike McDaniel on offense and as an offensive mind there. I'm going to choose the Chargers to win the AFC. And then for our Super Bowl champion, between the Chargers and between the Bears, because that's my two conference champions there, they are tied at 6% each. If I had to pick right now between the Bears and the Chargers, I wouldn't have figured that would be my Super Bowl. I'd probably say the Chargers, just because I feel like their offense is probably better. I'm going to go with the Bears. I feel like their Bears defense is better than the Chargers defense, and that's really going to separate it. All right, that does it for NFL. And last but not least, we're going to do baseball before we get to hockey. Your baseball preview for the season, essentially, because we haven't really broken down the futures here. Let me see if I can get the odds on DraftKings. And while I'm doing that, we will go over the rookie of the year, both AL, NL, Cy Young while we're here, both AL, NL, MVP, both AL, NL, then your pennant winners and your World Series winners coming up. Let me get into some baseball here. Let's do awards, MVP awards. All right, for your American League, or no, let's start with rookie of the year, excuse me. Rookie of the year for the American League. Starting off leading your options, we've got Trey Savage, played in the World Series last year for the Toronto Blue Jays and here in New Hampshire for the Fisher Cats last season. After that, Munetaka Murakami, third baseman and one of the home run hitters out of Japan, playing for the White Sox this season. He's plus 600, second in the odds. Carter Jensen after that. And then it starts to fall off a little. Sam Basallo on the list. I kind of like him. Connolly Early, also another name there. Peyton Tolley, some good ones. If I had to choose, I mean, Travis Bazana, got to mention that because Dawg, I believe he plays for the Guardians. Dawg's going to want to hear that. Savage is a good option, and I mean, he looked incredible. I'd probably pick him right off the bat. I don't think Munetaka Murakami is going to have a rookie of the year type year. Maybe Sam Basallo if he gets some good playing time for the Orioles or gets traded. But my first thought, I'm going to go with Trey Savage. I mean, he's incredible, and I got to go with the former Fisher Cat. So Savage at plus 370. Take those odds now while you can. Let's get to the National League Rookie of the Year potential. We've got Connor Griffin plus 280, JJ Weatherholt plus 425, Nolan McLean plus 500, and then it falls off Sal Stewart plus 1100 after that. Bubba Chandler, a pitcher for the Pirates, one of your top 5 options, top 6 options. He's plus 1,400. This one's a little tougher. I honestly would go with Bubba Chandler plus 1,400. Probably going to make a big leap up into the majors this year with the Pirates, and has a chance to be maybe that number 2, number 3 in the Pittsburgh rotation behind Paul Skeens. And you know, knock on wood, anything happens to Skeens this season, Bubba Chandler could have a chance to step up and take that spot. A couple of other names in here you might want to keep an eye out for. Andrew Painter, another good pitcher, as well as, Yona Tong, and even the password. I'm not going to even try and say his name, but Nixon Garcia, I definitely butchered it, but the password on here for potential National League. But we're going to go with Bubba Chandler at plus 1,400 to win National League Rookie of the Year. Let's move on to our Cy Young winners. Out of the American League, I'm going to say it right now. I'm not even going to read the options. It's going to be Garrett Crochet this year. He should have won it last year. I think Scooble, obviously a great pitcher and incredible player, back-to-back Cy Young winner. But I think at the year he had last year, he kind of had he faltered at times. And I thought Crochet on a worse Red Sox team performed incredible. And I think Crochet is going to win the Cy Young this year for sure. He's plus 425, second there in the odds. Some other names to keep an eye out for in the American League. Jacob deGrom, he's plus 1,300. Brian Wu, even plus 2,000. Ranger Suarez plus 3,500. But no, I think it's going to be Crochet out of the American League. And then on the National League side, we mentioned him already. Paul Skeens, he's plus 225 to win the National League Cy Young. Your World Series MVP, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, is plus 500. Falls off a little after that. Chris Sanchez, plus 1,000 for the Phillies. Chris Sale, who just signed a big deal with the Braves, a Cy Young winner, I think, last year maybe, or the year before. He is at plus 1,400. Blake Snell after that, plus 18. Shohei plus 3,000. Shohei at plus 3,000 to win MVP. Those odds aren't going to get any better. They're only going to get worse, or I guess they'll technically get better. They'll go into the negative. So go get that Shohei plus 3,000 ticket now while you can. If I had to pick right here, it's got to be between Skeens, Yamamoto, maybe Sale, maybe Shohei. But if I had to pick one off the top of my head, I'm going with the World Series MVP, Yamamoto. The Dodgers are just an incredible team, and I feel like they're going to be unstoppable this year again. And I heard a prediction. Someone on the Rich Eisen show predicted 5 World Series in a row for the Dodgers. So we'll see. And then your MVPs for your last awards here. We've got for the AL MVP. I thought it should have went to Cal Raleigh last year. Aaron Judge opens up the odds at plus 225. Cal Raleigh plus 850. I think I'm going to go with Vlad Jr. though, plus 1300 as a little flyer there for Vladdy in the American League. And then the National League, Shohei's minus 125 opening up the odds. I mean, when you pitch and hit, it's going to be hard to top that. They'll have to have a really good season. Juan Soto plus 750 in second. Acuna plus 1200. Tatis plus 16. And then Bregman now on the Cubs at plus 19. I think it's between the top 4, but really it's Shohei. We're going to go minus 125 Shohei. For your league pennant winners, we have for the, where are we for our wins? Oh, leagues. Here we go. Your league pennant winners, excuse me. For the American League, it looks like it's more of a toss-up. There's a couple of teams. The top 4 or 5 teams really are in the mix. Yankees, Mariners, Blue Jays, Red Sox, Astros, all under plus 1,000. Yankees leading that at plus 400. I would probably choose the Mariners or the Blue Jays. I don't think the Yankees really did anything this offseason to change their team last year. The Red Sox added a lot of pitching, which I think will help, but not enough bats to really stand out. And the Astros, same thing. I think the Blue Jays have a solid team. They went out, made some decent moves, and the Mariners really didn't change either. But those top 2 teams were the top 2 teams last year, so why not go back to them? I think the Mariners, Cal Raleigh, they are out for blood, and they had such a disappointing loss. And same to the Blue Jays in the World Series. It could be either of those teams, but I'm going to choose the Mariners. And then out of the West, it's got to be the Dodgers. They're plus 130. Get those odds now because they're only going to get better or go into the minus at minus 110 or something. But plus 130 right now for the Dodgers. After that, Phillies are plus 700, always in the discussion. Mets missed the playoffs last year, but third at plus 700. And then you've got the Braves plus 800. Cubs close it out at plus 950. I think it's really between the Dodgers, Phillies, and Cubs. I had the Cubs making a run last year. Brewers maybe in the mix. They're plus 15, and they looked really good last year. Their pitching's amazing. Mizorowski's an incredible young arm. And he could even, I don't know if he was classified as a rookie last year, but he could win Rookie of the Year this year if he's eligible. I don't think he is. But probably going with the Dodgers. If not, though, let's go Phillies at plus 15. And then I chose the Mariners at plus 5. And then for your World Series champion, Mariners are plus 1,300. That was my American League choice. For my National League choice, for the Brewers, they're plus 2,800. And let's see if we can find an exact result here. Mariners to beat the Brewers. Where is Mill? Nope. Seattle to beat Cubs. No. Seattle to beat the Brewers is currently plus 12,000. And that does it for your futures. We're going to get into some NHL futures right now.
J-Dawg's out in San Fran right now. Probably staring at the Golden Gate. Thinking about parlays. Let's drift over there and see what he's got.
Senior night at the Hilltop, the San Francisco Dawgs hosting the Santa Clara Broncos. WCC men's college hoops action. I'll let you know what happens at the half.
At the half, it's 44-38. It is the Santa Clara Broncos leading the hometown team in the Hilltop in the San Francisco Dawgs. A lot of living by the 3, dying by the 3 for the Dawgs. Also, they've created some turnovers, which has not been beneficial to them. It's been beneficial to Santa Clara. However, it's only 44-38. The second half is coming up. I'll let you know what happens at the end of the game.
94-73 is the final. The Santa Clara Broncos over the San Francisco Dawgs. That does it for the hometown team for the WCC for San Francisco. They're going to be at Pacific next time, and then they've got the WCC tournament, which, of course, the likes of Gonzaga and Santa Clara will be in come 2 weeks from now in Las Vegas, and we'll see if the Dons can exact a little revenge if they even get to that point of possibly facing Santa Clara. Well, that's it for the college game. Come Sunday, the pros. The Golden State Warriors hosting the Denver Nuggets. It was college hoops last night with the University of San Francisco. The Dons taking on Santa Clara. Now we go to the pros. The NBA, it's my first non-Cleveland Cavaliers game that I'm going to. I went from the land to the Bay. The Golden State Warriors are hosting the Denver Nuggets, and there'll be at least 2 NBA 100 players in this game. The NBA, of course, doesn't turn 100 until the 2045-46 year, or 2046-47 season, whichever they prefer. Anyway, Nikola Jokic of the Denver Nuggets and Draymond Green of the Golden State Warriors. It's the Dubs, it's the Nugs. I'll give you an update when it's halftime here in San Francisco. Warriors lead at the half, 76-67. Al Horford, the leading scorer for the Dubs. He's turning back the clock. No Draymond Green so far. Looks like he's going to be off the bench in the second half. But right now, it's 76-67. The Golden State Warriors leading the Denver Nuggets here in San Francisco. Warriors win 128-117. You had Moses Moody, you had DeAndre Melton, and the ageless wonder Al Horford, the difference for the Dubs, who get the win over Nikola Jokic, who had over 20 points, over 10 rebounds, and over 10 assists for the Nuggets. But in the end, the Warriors got the win over the Denver Nuggets here in San Francisco's Chase Center.
And welcome back in, Bet Heads. An amazing special moment here. Huge special moment. We have just one of our first guests ever. We've had, I think, 1 or 2 guests, couple of chime-in call-ins here and there, but first visually on YouTube.
First legit guest.
Yes, first legit guest, the Doctor of Rock, Chris Doc Garrett, host of, or the voice of Frank FM, essentially, host of the More Music Morning Show on 99.1 The Bone. Welcome in, Doc.
And now, special guest on Bet This.
Yes, welcome.
I love it. Thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah, of course. Doc, huge mentor to me. I look up to him, and big sports fan.
Huge, big hockey fan, obviously.
We talk shop a lot.
Yep.
Now, Doc, you're here on the show today to discuss some NHL futures.
Yes, coming off the Golden Goal. Why not? It's a better time to talk about hockey than right now.
Of course,
right?
Of course. And I wanted you to just give a little bit of background, because we're a New England-based company, but you're actually not a New England hockey fan. You're a Pittsburgh fan.
Yeah, I'm total New England, except for hockey. It's a radio thing too. When I was a young kid, I found KDKA, which is a high-frequency Westinghouse broadcasting signal out of Pittsburgh, and I really fell in love with, at that time, the announcer, which was Joe Starkey. I just liked the way he called games, and then along came Mike Wang, who's now in the Hall of Fame. And his signature obviously was he had these sayings every time they score a goal, which was just I couldn't believe. It was just a great,
like a Lang-ism.
He had these different ones, and it got great. It got to the point where actual fans would come in, or Penguins fans would come in, listeners, and give him different ideas and slogans and phrases. So that kind of, it was a huge pool of things like "scratch my back with a hacksaw,"
That's
Michael
awesome.
Michael motorcycle, or "slap me silly Sydney." So over the years, I just fell in love with the announcer. Mike unfortunately passed away last year, but he's in the Hall of Fame, and yeah, I became a Penguins fan, like the Bruins. But when it comes to hockey, I'm Penguins.
Penguins first, of course. Now, Doc, I did want to ask you, because the Winter Olympics just happened, what were your thoughts on the Olympics? And, were you, how old were you when the 1980s, like, you don't have to go into how old specifically, but do you remember watching the 80s Olympics at all?
Everyone was watching that. It was amazing. I was back then 21. So
nice. And now, how would you compare? Obviously, the world was in a different state then, and it's in its own state now. But how would you compare those 80 Olympics, like that gold medal win against Russia, to this one?
But that made that difference. It was 20 years from 1960, and I think it was because it was such. The Russian program was kind of accused. They were basically professional athletes,
right? And it was amateurs back then.
Correct. So that's what made it, like, it was college players against the pros of the Russians. They certainly weren't, but we know they're getting paid.
Right.
So I think, the David Goliath type thing, that one made that like gigantic in that regard. And it was kind of a world stage that way. Whereas now, Canada is the king of hockey. That's where the sport, was grown, and they feel like that's their sport. They're always, the most competitive team. They got the best players. This year, I think you could say they probably were the better team all in all, but that's why you play the game, and you get that red hot goaltender. And, you can see why, Connor Hellebuck's a 3-time Vezina winner,
right? Won
both the Vezina and MVP last year. He's a great goaltender.
We're going to get into the Vezina in just a little bit, doing some NHL futures. But what an amazing game by Hellebuck and the entire USA team. I've said it on Bet This. And I've told you, obviously, I played hockey growing up, but I sort of got out of it when I moved down south. But man, that Olympics got me right back into it.
Yeah, and I think everyone I knew. I mean, everybody was up at 8 o'clock in the morning on that
Yes.
Sunday watching the game. I mean,
Yes.
it didn't disappoint. Like I'm gonna say the entire ice hockey, men's and women's.
Yes.
Awesome, just awesome games.
Yes, amazing showing, and congratulations to the Hughes family, who I mean are nothing but winners at this point.
Now let me just point this up too. By the way, did you know that the Hughes mom, Jack and Quinn's mom, played hockey at the University of New Hampshire?
I did. I only knew that Jack Heath mentioned that to me earlier this week.
Multi-sport athlete
I
at
know.
UNH, by the way. So
Also, little fun fact, not off topic, but random. The last guy cut from that 1980s USA team was a gentleman named Jack Hughes. which is
exactly.
Just crazy coincidence there. But congratulations to the USA team. And it looks like hockey is an American sport for the next 4
It
years.
certainly is. The great thing about men's and women's, which is even
Yes.
more, I think, of a big deal. And it was a great lineup. I mean, it was just I think the Americans, but having two sets of brothers, I thought was kind of cool.
That's so cool. Now, Doc, let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it.
J-Dawg and I, we did some futures before the hockey season, but this whole edition of Bet This today is nothing but futures for all the four major sports, NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB. And you and I are going to cover some NHL. We're going to get into it. Now, like I said, J-Dawg and I made some predictions before the season on NHL.
I forgot more hockey than J-Dawg knows, okay?
That's so good. With that, we're going to get right into it. Do you want to start with the...
You tell me what you want to start with. I'll tell you what
let's start with let's work our way up, and we'll go from Rookie of the Year, Vezina, Hart, and then we'll go conference winners and Stanley Cup. We'll get your...
All right, Rookie of the Year. I feel it's a competitive year. There's a lot of great rookies in the league. I mean, the Penguins have their number one pick was 18, starting as a third line center, which is like crazy.
I was looking at the
Ben Kindle, amazing.
I was looking at the odds, and I was hoping to see him a little higher, but
but he's steady, but he's
Right.
a 200-foot player, so he's not going to flash in terms of scoring. I think 11 goals, 12 goals.
Yeah, but it's the way I look at it. Not to cut you off, but I think that I know that the Penguins are overplaying this year, or over succeeding their expectations.
They're way above their pay grade right now. Yep.
When you think about like an MVP award, it's the most valuable player to that team. When you think about the Rookie of the Year, like that's why I was saying I thought this Penguins rookie should have been a little higher, just because I feel like his impact is pretty significant.
I would agree. And I, as a guy that watches him every night, when you just see he plays way beyond his years, so it's fun to watch that. And the development, and the Penguins are ahead of schedule. I mean, Kyle Dubas has done a great job of kind of revamping the roster on the fly, because they're in a rebuild, but they're doing it on the fly because with aging stars like Sidney Crosby, Chris Letang, Evgeny Malkin, they got a short window.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to be competitive. I'm not sure they can get there before these guys retire, but they're certainly moving in the right direction. But when it comes to Rookie of the Year, it's very good. Ben Kindle's right in there, but I mean, there's some really amazing rookies. I hate to say it as an anti-Canadian fan, but Ivan Demidov leading in points, along with and you also have Beckett Seneca. So there's two guys that are leading in points. You have an interesting goaltender in Minnesota named Jesper Wallstad, who's right up there statistically with a lot of the other goalies. But I think we are talking about the number one overall pick, who I've watched a couple of times this year and has really been lights out. Matt, what is his name?
Schaefer.
Matt Schaefer. Yeah,
Matt Schaefer.
And you know what? People question at that time, with number one overall pick. I know there was some discussions about when the Islanders were picking him, but he was clearly the right pick. And you watch him this year, and he's a smooth skater, can anchor the power play at 18 years old, logging 20+ minutes a night. He's got over 30 points as a defenseman as a rookie. So it's got to be Matt Schaefer.
I like Wallstad, the goalie.
Yeah, he's great.
And I thought that was another one I was keeping my eye on for potential Calder Trophy winner. But I think it's Schaefer. If you look at the odds right now, they're creating their own category for Schaefer versus the field.
Yeah, well, and that's just, I mean, he's a difference maker. But Jesper Wallstad, he's made the Wild. I mean, you look at the moves that Bill Guerin has made up there.
Yes.
The big swing for Quinn Hughes. And he's not afraid to make those big deals like that. He's got a great goaltending tandem now with Philip Gustafson, former Penguins prospect.
It's
who's
funny,
a great goalie. That's right.
When we came,
the Gus Bus, we call him.
When we came in on Monday after the Winter Olympics, you came up to me and said, "Man, no one's got to be happier than Billy Guerin." That was like the first thing you said to me. So,
right. Everyone has the GM of Team USA.
Right. But of course, like with the Wild, with the way Quinn Hughes performed during the Olympics and stuff, like he's probably living on cloud nine right now.
He is lights out. And again, the goaltending combination, because Wallstad has come on, you had, Gustafson already there established. They signed him long term. They have a great dude. I mean, I got to tell you, the Wild are going to be players in the West this year. I'm just saying that.
We'll have to keep our eyes out. And you can check out our power rankings when Dawg returns. Of course, he'll have the NHL power rankings after next week. But I think that does it. We both agree, Matt Schaefer, for Calder Trophy Rookie of the Year. Let's move on to Vezina, one of my favorites, a former goalie here.
Right.
I did see Igor on the list, Rangers goaltender, but I know that he is not going to be
Shesterkin. That's not his year.
No, I know. And I know
the other goalie, the Russian goalie across the street.
Yes.
The Islanders goalie.
Yes. The Islanders are.
Ilya Sorokin is having a dynamite year. He really is.
He's having an incredible year. He is right now the favorite for the Vezina Trophy. However, I don't know what Doc's choice was, but I chose Andrei Vasilevsky.
That's my pick. That's my pick. He is, if you look at his stats just right now, he's number one in wins with 28 goals against, 2.11, and he's second in save percentage at 9.21. So, and it's only 0.1 percentage point. Yeah, he's been lights out again this year. Former Stanley Cup champion, and he's playing at an elite level right now.
He's playing at Stanley Cup champion level. I mean, if you look at the Lightning, they are the dominant team in the East.
Yep.
And I think that when you talk about hockey, the best teams have the best goaltending.
Well, I would say I'd throw the Hurricanes. Clearly, if you look at the league, the West is just a juggernaut. I mean, it's just loaded. The East is pretty weak, when you look in comparison. So I think there's two teams we can talk about when we get to that point. But I think you're looking at the Hurricanes and the Tampa Bay Lightning as the East.
I think so. We're giving it to Andre for our Vezina
Vasilevsky,
Trophy.
Correct.
Yeah, our Vezina Trophy winner. Let's move on to the Hart Trophy because we didn't discuss this off air. We discussed those other two awards and our thoughts, but this one we didn't discuss. And I have someone here that I think has a good shot at it. The odds are showing that it might be sort of running away with one person right now. Doc, who do you got winning the Hart Trophy for MVP?
It's funny when you look, because obviously last year, again, why he won the gold medal, Connor Hellebuyck was the MVP, the Hart Trophy, and so the MVP, obviously, and he got the Vezina Trophy, which is the best goaltender in the league. Right. So he won that as well as the overall MVP, which doesn't happen a lot with goaltenders.
Right.
Most times it's a forward, exactly.
You gotta be really good.
Yeah, just showed. But if we're talking this year, he was the MVP of the Olympics, and he is the best player in the National Hockey League. He's playing at that elite level. He's carried his team to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals. I'm not going to give away, but I don't think he's taken there this year, but it's Connor McDavid. Yeah,
I also chose Connor McDavid. Yep. We didn't discuss this.
Nope.
I think Nate McKinnon is leading the odds race right now. I think he's in front, but I think that's because he's leading the league in goals.
Yeah, he's got the goals, but they're
right. But McDavid's got the points.
Correct.
And I think that's going to be the big difference. And McDavid, again, I talked about it just a few minutes ago, but when you talk about MVP, whatever sport it is, it's most valuable player. Who is the most valuable player to their team? I mean, without a doubt, Connor McDavid is one of the greatest hockey players I've ever seen. Yep. Obviously want to support Team USA, want to be American, but man, this dude can play hockey.
You got to tip your cap. And if you're a hockey fan, you have to love the brilliance of Connor McDavid.
Oh, yes.
I'm a Sidney Crosby fan, obviously. He's passed the torch to the new king of hockey. And it's no doubt you watched in the Olympics, and he was the best player on the ice every single night.
Yes.
For the whole tournament. I can see where you'd say Hellebuyck, but if you look in the entire tournament, the guy carried Canada, and they lost Crosby, and he got to see and really did all he could do to get him there.
And think about, it just replays in my head over and over him in the Stanley Cup Finals when they lost, not when they were eliminated, but they were. I think it was the night before Game 7 or something. That first year they went. His passion. That's one thing that I love about McDavid too. Is when he speaks to the team, when he talks about hockey, when he hits the ice, it is nothing but passion. He just wants to win, and I just. Nothing but respect for him, and I think that he's going to end up winning that Hart Trophy this year.
And he deserves it. Yes. It's his time.
So let's move on then.
Okay.
We're narrowing down our futures here. We have done our trophy winners, our Calder Trophy, Vezina Trophy, Hart Trophy.
There's a couple more trophies I want to do too.
Right. If you want to go ahead, give us your thoughts.
The Norris Trophy.
Yep.
Obviously the best defenseman in the league.
Yes.
Which Cale Makar, who in the Olympics on that big play 3-on-3. Was breaking out for the 2-on-1 when McKinnon lost the puck to Werenski. But Cale Makar, probably the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. But I got to tell you, watching what Quinn Hughes has done, moving from Vancouver to the Wild, and the impact he's had on the Wild, and how well he's playing right now, I'm gonna pick Quinn Hughes,
Nice.
brother of Jack, the golden goal.
I didn't write down my Norris Trophy or my Rocky Richard
Yep,
or
yep.
Art Ross. I don't know if you have those down.
I do.
But
Yep.
the Norris, I did check the odds. I think Quinn Hughes is leading the odds. I'd probably pick him as my Norris Trophy winner too. I mean, again, I'm a big fan of momentum and superstition kind of thing. And it's like you're coming off that win in the Winter Olympics.
Yep.
Team USA. Your brother is the face of hockey. You
Yep.
had that. He had that overtime goal against Sweden
Yep.
before the Canada game. I think Quinn Hughes is kind of on a high, and I expect that to carry over throughout the rest of the season.
And watch out for the Wild in the playoffs too.
Yes.
All right. So you want to do the Art Ross, which is for the most points?
Yeah. Go ahead.
All right. Really come down to a battle, I'd say, between you have this. It's three.
I know McDavid's. He's up there.
McDavid.
Yep.
Nathan McKinnon.
Yep.
And I'm forgetting the sharpshooter in Tampa.
I would have to double check. Let me try and find it. But I know that McKinnon. I think McKinnon is third on the odds list. And then I think that
Kucherov. I'm sorry, Nikita Kucherov.
Yes.
Who's a former winner of that. I'm going with Connor McDavid. Do the double and do the Art Ross and Hart Trophy this year.
On Kalshi, actually, right now, Kucherov is leading the projections. 47% of fans thinking Kucherov is going to win the Art Ross. Connor McDavid in second, McKinnon in third.
I go. You know, Vasilevsky. Sorry. I go Kucherov second, probably.
Okay. So what do you have, David?
McDavid, Kucherov, McKinnon.
Okay.
How I'd have it right now, but I'm going with McDavid to win.
They got Celebrini in fourth, but that's kind of irrelevant.
What a player he is too.
I think
he was fun to watch.
I know. I think McDavid's going to win this one though, especially leading the league in points right now. I think he's going to be able to finish that out. I bet McKinnon, excuse me. I'd probably pick him to be my Rocker Richard.
That's who I have.
But
he's going to get the goal scoring league.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't think anyone will catch him.
Nope.
And right now on Kalshi projections, he's at 78%. 6% say Connor McDavid.
Yep.
Now for our conference winners. Or
you
have one more? My bad.
Yeah, the Norris Trophy, which is obviously. I already did that.
No,
one.
we
Never
did
mind.
Norris.
Yep,
Yeah.
I thought I had one more. Nope, but I guess we don't.
I think we covered them.
We did.
All right. So it is time for your conference. Your conference winners. Who you think is going to win? What do you want to start? East or West?
You tell me.
Let's go with the West.
Okay, that's the juggernaut.
Yeah.
Okay, I have at least 4 teams.
Okay,
I think can come out of the West and win the Stanley Cup. Of course, we got the Wild.
Yep.
You got the Dallas Stars, who are playing great hockey right now.
They slumped a little bit at the beginning of the season, but they are coming back up.
Yep.
I like the Stars.
And then you're going to go to Colorado Avalanche, who are playing fantastic hockey. And I can't rule out McDavid and the Oilers, although I would put them at 4th. I'm not sure they're going to make it this year. But hey, it's Connor McDavid.
Right.
He's carried this team 2 years in a row on his back to the Stanley Cup Finals. So
all they got to do is make the playoffs. For the Oilers to really have a chance. It's almost like that Tom Brady effect,
Yep.
You know, that greatness level when you hit another level where you're, or Mahomes even, when you make the playoffs where it's like, you can't count them out kind of thing. So I like the Oilers to be that 4th option, but I think those other teams you said, Stars, I think the top 2 really are Stars and Avs. I know you're big on the Wild and the moves that Billy Guerin's made have been.
And my point being this, with the trade deadline a couple of weeks away, there's going to be some big swings out there. Colorado made a minor move with the Penguins yesterday, moving Gerard, the defenseman, for Kulak. Saved some money, got about $8.5 million in cap space. So they're going to take a swing, probably at a 3rd-line center.
Yes.
And there's a
Especially
couple of
to
names
try and
out
make
there.
that deep
Right, but they got
run.
Ryan O'Reilly. There's some guys, the names out there. I think Vincent Trocheck from the Rangers, another name that's floated out there. But so these teams are going to be making a move. The Wild, you've already seen how aggressive Billy Guerin is out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's in win now mode. They're going for it. So they're going to take a big swing. They went and got Quinn Hughes already. They have a great, solid goaltending depth. They got a great. You saw Boldy. He scored the first goal in the final game, the gold medal game. So I really struggled between the Avalanche and the Wild, who I think are going to be the final 2 teams. But in the end, I went with the Avalanche, going back to the Cup again.
Okay.
All right.
Before the season, Dawg and I both picked the Avalanche.
I didn't know that.
To win the West. No, Dawg didn't know that. And again, I chose the Avalanche today as well. I think they're just too dominant. I think the Wild are a good team. I think the Stars are really good. Mikko Rantanen is amazing. I think the talent they have in Dallas is good, but I
great team.
I think that
Jason Roberts, great goal scorer.
I think the Avs are just so
I think it's their year.
dominant. Yeah.
They got it. And the Mackenzie Blackwood's been great in net for them. I think that's been a difference maker.
And
this
they've
year.
been dominant over the past couple years, but they weren't able to get over that Oilers hump.
And a little goaltending issue, which I think they've solved with Mackenzie Blackwood now.
Right.
I think he's more solid than that.
I think the Avs are gonna walk through the playoffs. Maybe the Wild will be.
I'm not gonna. I would not. I would say I don't think they're gonna walk this because it's really a gauntlet. Because you do have the Dallas Stars, the Wild, the Avalanche, the Oilers. I mean, any four of those could be Stanley Cup finalists, right? They're good enough. But I'm going like you with the Avalanche.
Okay, we're both taking the Avs. Now the Eastern Conference, it's a little thinner. I think
Weak conference.
Thinner shouldn't be the word. It should be more top heavy because those teams at the top are good.
Oh yeah,
but the teams under the top are not so good. And and when you compare them to those Western teams, the Avs, the Oilers, the Stars, the Wild, like none of those, the Canadians who have been bouncing up and down, like
it's not their year.
No, they're not. Even if they make the playoffs, they're not. It's not their year. Like you said, they're not going to be able to take out one of those Western teams if they were to make it to the Stanley Cup final. But I think the top two teams are really where it sits. Maybe you could say like a third team in there in the East. What are your thoughts? Who do you got on your board?
I see it as the two dominant teams. We both talking about obviously the Lightning and the Hurricanes. Then you get the next tier of teams, and again, anything can happen in the playoffs. You get a hot goaltender. You have the next level of kind of like the Bruins, who are playing really good hockey right before the break, and actually on the rise. Islanders with Matt Schaefer, with Ilya Sorokin, they've been very solid. That's been a surprise. And the Penguins, I got to say, have been a surprise because of how well they played. They're well into the playoff race right now.
I think they would have, and not to rub salt in the wound because Doc is getting ready to go see the Penguins soon, but I think
against the Bruins,
I think they would have been able to make a better run if Crosby wasn't on the IR.
Look, the guy scored the golden goal. He's as money as they get. I think USA was fortunate that Sidney didn't play, just because don't want it to have having him. He's that kind of guy in those kind of moments that can make a huge difference, and he's proven that over and over again. So, but it's the Bruins are playing very well.
Yes, I think the Bruins and the Penguins are two teams that are playing.
And the Islanders, I'd put those three.
Yeah, the Islanders as well.
Right.
Yes, 100%.
Because, and again, comes back to goaltending, and Penguins goaltending with the trade of Tristan Jarry, which may be the biggest heist all season. They traded Tristan Jarry and a former winger, a part player named Sam Poulin, and they got Stuart Skinner, Brent Kulak, who they flipped for a second-round pick and a defenseman and a second-round pick. So, I mean, the gift keeps giving, and Jarry was not the guy in Pittsburgh, was signed to a long-term contract. I'm amazed they actually got to move him and got value for him. So, it's part of the Kyle Dubas on the fly. The Penguins have almost $48 million in cap space next year, and I think the most picks in the first 3 rounds of any team in the next three years in the draft. So they're loading up.
Yeah, they're definitely in.
But it's not their year,
right? They're prepping for rebuilds. They're making a good run
like
this
the
year.
Bruins are doing. The Bruins are rebuilding on the fly as well.
Right. And I think that's honestly that might be the future of trying to have a good organization, is trying to be rebuilding on the fly instead of being like, all right, the next 5 years are rebuild. Like you don't want to like just completely destroy what you've got. But I think the Penguins are doing a good job at blending.
As are the Bruins now. They're
exactly.
looking. They're rumored to be making a big swing here very soon too.
Well, they've got, they had Geeky. I feel like he's been the one who's really stepped up for the Bruins team this year.
30 goals scored 2 years in a row. Come on.
I feel like Geeky's been a huge part of the team being as successful as they are.
That's why they signed him, and it was a very team-friendly contract. So good for the Bruins and Don Sweeney on that one.
Yes. Well, I think it is a 2-team race. Like we were saying, I think it's between the Lightning and the Canes. For me personally, I chose them at the beginning of the season. I'm going to stick with them now, despite I think the Lightning being better. I'm going to go with the Canes. I think the Canes, they've been competitive and getting more competitive over the past like 2 or 3 seasons. And I think when it gets to the end of the season, not that the Lightning haven't been there, recently either, but I think when it gets towards the Eastern Conference Finals, I feel like the Canes, just with their recent experience, that recent push they've had over the past couple of years, it'll come into play in the playoffs when it gets down to the wire.
Okay. I'm going with you on the fact that those are the 2 top teams. I think one of the things that have held Carolina back over the last couple of years, Freddie Anderson was a really good goalie, but not good enough to get him over the hump. And they got Brandon Bussi. Okay, great. Yeah, the Bruins let him go. He's having, a couple of ex-Bruins are doing very well. Goalies. You have Vlad in Philadelphia. And you got Buzzy, who they just signed to an extension. And he's playing great hockey. He really, came in one of his first 10 games or something. But I got to love the experience of the Lightning. They've been there multiple times. They have a head coach who was the silver medal coach on Canada. John Cooper is a great coach. I think he's the longest tenured coach in the National Hockey League right now. Got a great team. Kucherov, I mean, the guy's a goal-scoring leader and a threat every year. They got Hedman back now on defense.
Both of us,
one pick.
Both of us picked, the Lightning to have the Vezina winner too.
Yeah,
like the
and Vasilevsky's playing out of his mind again this year. He's back to that crazy good. And I just don't see Florida doing it again. I think they're burnt. So my pick's going to be John Cooper and the Tampa Bay Lightning. This will be a rematch of the 2022 Stanley Cup final between the Lightning and the Avalanche, which the Avalanche won.
Ooh, well, exciting. So is that who you're going with?
I'm going for the win?
For the win, for the big one, the big
I'm going
Lord Stanley's trophy.
For Lord Stanley. Lord Stanley, bring me the brandy. Colorado Avalanche.
I am also going with the Avs. That was my preseason pick. I had to pick the Avs. I just feel like they're due, kind of like you said. They've been competitive the past couple of years. Stanley Cup champions just a few years ago. We're going to get that rematch between the Avs and the Lightning, and I just feel like they're competitive to the point where they have been that number 2 team behind the Oilers those past couple seasons.
Yep.
And now with the Panthers out of the mix and the Oilers, like we said, kind of on the back burner, they've got Connor McDavid in their pocket.
That's why you can never count them out.
Right. But I think that I agree with you. I don't think it's the Oilers' year. I mean, they can make the playoffs, but I don't think they'll make a deep enough run. I think the Avs, just from front to back of the entire team, all 4 lines, I feel like are unstoppable.
And Joe Sakic's going to make a trade. Again, I told you he's had $8.5 million in cap space now saved up. They're going to take a swing. They're probably going for a third line center, and that's really their only weakness. I mean, they are loaded. They got Cale Makar, who's the best defenseman in the National Hockey League. Mackenzie Blackwood has stepped up in goal and been a difference maker for them, and that's what they were really missing, I think, which has been an Achilles heel for Edmonton over the years as well. So,
tell me, did you pick Makar for your Norris Trophy, or did you pick Hughes? Who did you pick for your Norris Trophy?
I picked Hughes.
I picked Hughes too. I just couldn't remember what you said.
Makar is great, and he's I just think the way I mentioned that Hughes has just played so well, and you just saw it carry over in the Olympics as well. I mean, he's just, from a defensive position, the guys, he can skate. He logs 24 minutes a night. He's got a deadly shot. I mean, he never came off the ice in one of those overtimes. He's amazing.
Real quick, how many games?
Oh, the Stanley Cup final game? I'm going to say, let's go. It's a rematch of 2022. It went in 6 that year. It's going 7 this year.
Okay, Avs in 7. I'll take Avs in 6. Little gentleman's bet there. Avs in 6, and then I think that does it for our hockey talk, Doc.
Already? It's over already?
I did, however, because the doctor is a avid golfer. I had one more futures question for you. Who's winning the Masters this year?
Oh boy, that is a really, really tough question.
I know.
I don't know if I've done enough research, because I do delve in it. So I'll come back on the show and talk about the Masters if you want at a time later.
I'll have you on. We'll have you on when the Masters rolls around.
But I'm gonna see if I just want to throw something out there. I'm gonna go off the grid right now, and I'll probably change my mind. But for some reason, Colin Morikawa.
Okay,
let's go with Colin
Morikawa for the Masters win.
He's due for Masters.
I am going to choose Tommy Fleetwood.
Ooh, I love Tommy.
Just a random throwing out there. We'll do this again when it gets closer to the Masters.
Nice flow, just like you. That's why you like him.
Of course, you got to have that hair, So that does it, Bet Heads. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Doctor.
My pleasure.
Real quick before we take off, where can the Bet Heads find you if they want to follow your story or just hear more Doc voice?
You can hear me every weekday morning on 99.1 The Bone. I do the mornings 6 to noon time, and then of course 3 to 7 live on the Frank Network, which we have 3 stations, so I'm heard pretty much all over the state. We got 106.3 down in Manchester and Nashua. We have 93.3 up in Laconia.
98.3.
98.3 and then 98.7 over on the coast. Yeah. Exactly. Thank you for that correction.
I got you.
It's the Frank Network. Just crank the Frank. That's
Crank the Frank. Find Doc on Frank FM. You can find him on 99.1 The Bone. I do the weekends there, and then Doc does the More Music morning show as well as some commercial-free music. But Doc, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. And then I think it's time for us to head out. Hey, Bet Heads, if you're going to bet this. And we'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Bet This is for entertainment purposes only. Always gamble responsibly and never wager more than you can afford to lose. Our advice is not a guarantee of success. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem, help is available. Call the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-522-4700 or visit ncpgambling.org for resources.